Welcome to the Nonprofit Online podcast. My name is David Higgins. It is so good to have you here, and I'm excited to guest today. We're going to have a great time. But just before we get to him, this episode is brought to you by Demystifying Fundraising Funnels, the digital marketing blueprint to fund your nonprofit. It is ready for pre-sale in Amazon as well as Audible, ebook, anywhere books are sold. And it's an amazing book that's going to help you as a nonprofit leader take you from where you are today into a place where you're able to move online with your website, with fundraising digital funnels, and be able to bring in resources desperately needed to your nonprofit. Well, over the years, I have had the opportunity to play with 2 orchestras and numerous groups. And when I saw that we were getting a chance to talk to a nonprofit that's an orchestra today, I can't tell you how excited I was. When Elizabeth said, David, this might be somebody you might want to talk to, I was just like, yes, this is very exciting. So as a lot of you know, I spent all my formative years in bands and music and orchestras, got to be the director of the San Diego Performing Arts Center. And that was an amazing time in my life. I realized what a treat that is because not a lot of musicians get to do what they love professionally and get paid for it. For the first time in my life, I felt like one of the 1%. And I think that's what the right statistic is there. But today I get to talk to somebody who works with the Cleveland Orchestra. And I cannot tell you how excited I am. One of the most sought after performing ensembles in the world and Northeast Ohio's most visible international ambassador is Cleveland Orchestra. And we're talking to Josh Landis today, who is the annual fund manager there. And we're going to talk a little bit about funding, fundraising, a little bit about his history and background. Josh, welcome to Nonprofit Online.
David, thank you so very much. I appreciate
the applause.
I feel like I need a book. If you had a book, I feel like I need to present something like this is presented by my moleskin or something. I don't know. No, that doesn't work.
Absolutely. Well, with that scarf on, all you need is like a quill, and you've got the whole thing going.
And a pipe too. I feel like a pipe.
Dickens. Yeah. You could go with old Dixon's ensemble.
Oh yeah. I mean, we could Sherlock Holmes this up right now.
Yeah, or stovepipe hat. Either one works.
Yeah, any of those.
So you get to surround yourself with such a high level of art and music for your occupation. What's that like?
It is just it's hard to put into words when you can be at your computer, get off a call with a donor, and then you walk out to use the restroom or to get a cup of coffee, and you have to walk through Severance itself. And you look up at the ceiling, you hear the music, it is transformational. It is almost like going to a different planet. And I have to remind myself daily how special it is because, we get into the routine of every day. So I will purposely walk into the hall at least once a day, if not more, when I am at the hall itself, because it's just, it's hard to explain.
I find something stirs inside me, like inside my chest, when I hear, even in practice, even when there's still squeaks and squawks going on, but the harmonies of all that sound starting to come together. To me, it's amazing.
I think one of the best parts is when you hear them starting rehearsal and they're all warming up, they're tuning and everything. It sounds like just complete utter chaos, right? There's just noise everywhere. And then within a matter of 30 seconds, the arms go up and you're ready. And then it's just like, you're like, what just happened? And no matter what the note is, it takes your breath away.
It is. I just have to ask, is there any upcoming orchestra pieces that they're going to be performing in the next 6 months or so?
Well, so the orchestra, is back in person. Thank goodness. We're pushing forward. But I think what's more important and more exciting is that last year we introduced our online streaming platform, Adela. And we are actually introducing season 2 later on in this month. So this is an online platform like all the great orchestras out there. So you can go online. Wow. The sound quality is just superb. The videography, it's almost like you're seeing a movie sometimes with the panning. They've invested from a gift that we had just received. They've invested some money in new recording materials, a whole upgrade to the system. So I think that's probably the most exciting thing, that we're in season 2 of our own production company, really.
That's fantastic. I can't wait. I hope you can send me a link to be able to sign up for that. We'll attach it to our YouTube channel and to our podcast as well, so people can connect in with you on that. I think that's beautiful, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about you. So you graduated from Eastern University, and by 2009, you were already heavily invested with leadership in the nonprofit world. What pulled you into the nonprofit world?
That's a great question, David. I think at first, if I could be totally honest, was a little bit of the fear of what was kind of on the outside world, if you will. My dad was a loan banker, so he had that heavy, like, the business, and he was always so sure of himself. I found myself in the more artistic sense. I have a theater and dance background, and to me that was home, and the other stuff wasn't. So, if I had to be honest, it was just like, this is what feels right. I feel the most comfortable here. And, but, fast forward however many years, I would have never said, you're going to be the annual fund manager at the Cleveland Orchestra. Because I started out in churches, in small theaters. I kind of grew into other places, but it really was probably just for comfort at first. And then I really realized that what we do is as important as what's going on the business world, and the for-profit world, because we're nourishing the souls of people out there, and I think there's nothing more important than that.
I wish I would have met you around 2008 or 9, and the reason why is we went through a season at the Performing Arts Center where I was doing a series we did 8 of them once a quarter, called Word in Concert. And I'd have all the young people. We were having about 2,000 students a week coming through at that time. And they would pick a word that they're dealing with, like fear or hopelessness or excitement or something like that. And I'd build a 60-minute musical piece to it. And then we'd bring in the dancers, we'd bring in the drama teams, and we'd build an entire storyline, like a musical sermon, you could say, and we presented to the community. And it was our biggest things, that we'd have packed out houses every time we did it. And it was exciting, but I could just see it. I'd be on the piano or my saxophone, and you could take care of all the drama and dance teams.
I got you. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back.
And it sounds like I have to move over to Cleveland. All right. I'll talk to Michelle about it later.
Okay. Make sure you pack your parka. It just started snowing officially in Cleveland in January.
I shoveled 8 inches of snow off the driveway yesterday and another 8 last Saturday. It feels like I'm walking in a blizzard right now.
Well, you're beating us, because we've gotten 2 inches so far this season. So congratulations, you're winning.
Oh my goodness! How's the wind over there? Does it get real windy there?
Yeah, I'm right on the lake, so we definitely get that wind right off the lake.
So yeah, we don't get wind that much here. We might get gusts from time to time, but it's very Christmassy right now.
Oh, yeah.
So you have an artistic streak. And before we get involved in the conversation with Cleveland Orchestra, you invested over 7 years with the Academy of Dramatic Arts. What was your pull into the artistic community as a leader? You talked about drama. You did talk a little bit about dance. Are those your hidden talents, or is there more depth to you when it comes to the art?
I would hope to be.
Are you a singer?
I hope so. Early on, I realized the power of story, and the power that when you find yourself in a story and how it can transform you. And I will say that it was mostly my experiences in the theater doing productions that I was also at the time. I've always kind of juggled how arts and how you make a living, because I have that my dad in my head as a loan officer, making sure bills are paid. But then I have the other side of me going, but I have to dance, I have to do drama, I have to do theater. But I found that in that setting of telling a story with a group of people, the transformational power of it. And as soon as I I had experienced it for many years, but then like I think when I got to college and those really formative years in your life, I was like, this is more than just a good feeling. This is a powerful tool. And I think as soon as I knew that and I understood that, I was like, this is what I have to push forward this tool. I have to invite everyone in to make sure that they understand it, they experience it.
Yeah.
So I think it became very clear to me that I didn't want to just take part in the storytelling as a participant, but I was like, I want to help lead creating spaces, safe spaces for people to
Mm,
create,
that's
to
beautiful.
explore, to find themselves, and really bring the world what this transformation that we all need, even today, the peace,
Yeah.
the everything that we everything that we need going on, the comforts. So that was really what brought me to say, keep going with nonprofit leadership, specifically in the arts.
I I love that. As I've already said, it's so much close to where my heart's at. And
Mm.
unfortunately, I aged out of being on stage for a lot of the type of stuff I was doing, but the piano was my hiding spot. I mean, even now, it's kind of like my meditation. I can sit
Mm.
there and I can just play, and the world kind of fades away. And it's
Yeah,
kind of like
it's amazing.
my space, you know.
Yeah, and I think it just with I had the dance theater, but like now being in the orchestra, when
Mhm.
you look at people experiencing the orchestra live, you can just
Yeah.
tell they are enveloped in what's going on and the story that the composer wanted to tell years ago, and now the conductor is getting to tell through the musicians. It's brilliant.
Mm. Obviously, fundraising is an intricate part of a nonprofit survivability. And in a real way, it's the fundraising team that provides the platform for the voice created by the nonprofit, whether that voice is a mission that's civic duty, if it's a mission that is towards the homeless. It's the fundraisers that actually create the platform so people can hear that voice. The better we are at funding, the better the voice can be heard. And even though nonprofits hate to think of themselves as needing money because we're about our mission,
Hmm.
there's this real battle about being able to understand the importance of what you're doing now
Hmm.
for Cleveland Orchestra. How do you describe what you do for Cleveland Orchestra in the the responsibilities that are in your hand?
Sure. Well, I had the honor of servicing and connecting with all of our donors, $2,500 and below. So we have a very broad base of people. And on top of that, I'm working on a daily basis. Like, my team is so important. Wonderful boss, Megan Hall, who came from Seattle Symphony. She has the vision, the mission, the passion for not just the music, but for us as individuals in our community.
Mhm.
So that's really important. And I think that my team gets that. But what's probably the most important thing is what I've realized, and this might be a little bit from my like pastoral training, but it's making a family. If people feel like they're a part of a family and that family is doing something bigger than themselves, knock on wood, and don't quote me for saying this, but it's not hard to fundraise. It's not hard to ask, because once you have the people and they feel like they are part of the mission,
Mhm.
it's natural. Whether it be $5
Yeah,
or $1,000, people give where they can give, but they feel like they are a part of something that is bigger than themselves.
that's so good. What are some of the biggest struggles your responsibilities face, especially as we've come through this COVID crisis, and
Mm.
it seems to be grabbing a new set of breath right now?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we were some of we have a great fundraising guru that we work with, Jeff Brooks. And when the pandemic started, we got on the phone with him and we were talking, and he said the number one thing to do is you can't stop asking. Do not
Mm.
stop asking. If you stop asking, you're not going to provide the possibility. And that was our saving grace. We turned around a letter. I can't believe how fast we turned around the letter. In a large nonprofit that turns like the Titanic sometimes. Um, but we did it, and the response that we got was, it was humbling. I mean, Dave, I still am in wonder at the people of Cleveland, the people who love this orchestra, who love this music, who love this city. They turned around. They were it was the most generous outpouring I've ever experienced in my life. And it was so humbling. So it wasn't so hard to get the ask going at the first place. But I think the biggest thing is, now that we're almost 2 years into this, it's not that people are getting tired of giving, because people don't get tired. It's like I said, if they have passion, if they feel like they're part of a mission, they don't get tired of giving. It's all of the extra stuff that's going on around us. It's like the ups and the downs. Like, oh, we're getting better. Oh, nope, we're in overrun. Oh, it's those ups and downs that they're getting tired of. And it's kind of like, that is, I think, turning them off in general, just being like, I need a break to be for me right now. So I think the biggest thing now is, how do we kind of like weed through all of the noise the world is throwing at us, to go like, we're still here, we're still with you, we're still for music, and we're here whenever you're ready to come back. So right now, that's what our team's dealing with, just kind of finding our voice as it evolves throughout this whole pandemic.
Yeah. When you talk about Cleveland and ups and downs, suddenly I was starting to think of jokes about the Cleveland Browns. But we're not going to go there in this conversation. And
there's no point.
so I spent quite a bit of time on your website, and I like the way you've developed it. Somebody's put a lot of thought into it. It's got a lot of depth. How important is having a dynamic website to your capability to fundraise in your fundraising drives?
Sure. Well, we actually just went through a website redevelopment, and that was something that we got a little help through some funding, but we wanted to make sure that it was user-friendly, but also it was ADA accessible, with with vision and sight and listening. So we went through a whole kit and caboodle, a year's worth of time, probably, just developing a new website. But through it, I think that ease is the number one thing, specifically with across the website. Because if someone goes to get tickets, they're most likely, hopefully, going to be a donor someday. So how is the experience, no matter where you're going? Getting a ticket, finding a concert, making a donation, finding a group of some sort. So that was really important, and that was a huge team effort across the organization, between the marketing and the PR and the box office and the philanthropy department and the finance stuff. I mean, literally, it was an all hands on deck thing. And it could have been something that, our marketing said, no, we're going to just keep with ourselves. But they were like, no, we need the feedback. And because of it, it really helped our patrons' journey to from the first click on Cleveland Orchestra to their first ticket. Most likely they'll maybe come a few times before they give, and then they give, and their depth, and that whole experience. So it was really important for us. And I look at the opposite. So I run a small theater too, which you said. So at that theater, I do everything. Literally, I do everything. So I don't have the time to develop a website like that, but I can see the difference in the customer journey through a little rinky-dink nonprofit community theater to a very robust 100+ year old organization. And that has been, I think, what pushes me. I learned so much from the orchestra to take to my organization, and vice versa. But figuring out that the journey that the customer takes, the patron takes, is probably one of the most important things that you can perfect and get as right as possible.
Yep, no, absolutely. Do you guys use the $10,000 a month Google ad grant to drive your website?
David, I was looking at that question, and I know very little about that. And then I was like, I'm going to reach out and find out. But then I thought to myself, actually, I'm going to let this be a learning moment for all of us. And what is so important, if we go back to that comment I made about me doing everything at my theater, at the orchestra, one of the reasons we keep going every day and doing what we do is because we don't just fund the music, we fund the people that fund the music, right? And our leadership, our trustees, our board of trustees, they understand that you have to spend money to make money. And they're not afraid to say, we need to have a robust team of web developers. We are top 5 in the nation, top 10 in the world. We have to have the best that we can. So they have put the money in to those people. So I don't have to know about that in a good way, right?
Yeah.
So that, as I was doing research for your, what you guys do, like, that is the number one thing, like figuring out where to put money and not being afraid to put money behind it is, it makes everyone's life easier, that's on staff, but also it just makes us do what we do that much better, because I can focus on connecting with donors. I don't have to worry about the web. I work alongside with those people, but it's just so important to have a robust team of communications. Digital, obviously is the new wave.
That's
but
beautiful.
also, writing, telefunding, all that stuff is really, really important.
No, it is. Absolutely. No, I'm finding that there is a chasm between those that do have it and those that don't, and the difference in that amount of online driving power. If you have this, and this is what I always encourage every single time I'm communicating to somebody, they start talking about websites, and I say, "Did you get the Google Ad Grant?" And half of them say, "Oh, I know about that. What does that do?" And then the other half go, "What is it?" And very rarely, and even though so many use a Google Ad Grant, very few in my conversations and people that are reaching out to us actually have engaged it with their nonprofit. And there is a lot of advertising power that's available with that. So I don't know, find your digital guy and tap him on the shoulder and say, "Hey, figure this one out." And,
Andrew Kuhar and Ryan Buckley, I'm coming for you after this podcast. I'm right after this. You're getting a call from me. Those are our digital people. It's coming for you.
That's awesome. So we're talking about digital versus tactile fundraising, and you're very much on the tactile side, the engagement with the community. How do you find the next generation of donors? I was looking at statistics, and that came out here in just the last 6 months. Millennials have taken over in mass per person donating as the largest generation of donors in America today, but they're donating online, right?
Yeah.
Now, they don't donate as much as X Gen or baby boomers, but they donate more because so many more of them are donating. And people go, "Oh, millennials," I've heard older generations say, they're very selfish, but actually they're some of the most generous within the generations that are out there.
And also the fact that they're waiting to have children longer than they ever have. They have all this extra income as well that we're forgetting about.
Big hearts, creative minds, and they do have resource. How do you reach the new generation of donors?
That's a really great question. So it's extremely important to, first making sure that your message is the right message. And, once you get there, how you get it out there. And it is literally being open to all the different avenues. Like, you have to make sure that you really invest in all the avenues. And obviously web, social media is a huge, place for engagement. So I would say that, our biggest, we do our normal, like we'll do social ads, we'll do, campaigns on social that, work very well. And our web giving has gone up significantly over the past couple of years. But I find that the people that are engaging with us online are engaging with the music more than anything. They want to engage with the artistry. So it is making sure that you have a special place on your social media person's, heart to say, how can we tie this back to fundraising? And it's not going to be every time, because you don't want to overwhelm people, but it's saying, okay, this is a great time to insert something here. We have someone from our fundraising team that goes through social media, our weekly meeting every week. And, we always have some sort of post that is fundraising in nature. But I find that the best performing ones are the ones that are the perfect amalgamation of the music and the need, really clearly stating what is needed and giving a goal for someone to step up and say, I can help do that. So that's probably the most effective way of using it that I see for the orchestra.
I was speaking with a animal rescue shelter, and
which, by the way, they have the easiest jobs out there. If you have puppies, listen to me out there, nonprofit world. I'm jealous of you. If you have puppies and kittens, you got it easy. That's all I gotta say.
Their fundraiser for this Christmas is brilliant. They rescued a pregnant Labrador retriever, and they put a puppy cam on with a donation button, and they led their website with it. And it brought in, like, their goal was to bring in like $10,000. It brought in 6 figures. And all their social media is exactly what you're talking about. It was just pictures of puppies and these puppies, and watch the puppies. They never asked for a dime on the social media. They just pumped the puppy cam, and everybody get on the puppy cam on their website and they'd give, right? And so there is that huge balance between just communicating life and joy and something of beauty and social media, but use it kind of like the honey that draws them to the opportunity to give.
Exactly. And I think that's something that I've learned is you have to lead with what you're strong with. You can't lead with an ask. You have to lead with what people are passionate about. They're not passionate about giving you money. They're passionate about puppies or dance or hearing world-class music. And you have to lead with what you're strong at. You can't be ashamed of that.
Yeah. And I want to go get a Labrador retriever now. So
I will say that I did ask if we could have a musician cam that just followed musicians around all day. That got nixed really quick.
It sounds a little creepy.
I know, right? I'm sure that the PR's not going to
It's better to creep over a puppy than an actual person that plays
a musician.
Yeah. To the nonprofit directors that see the success that the Cleveland Orchestra has had over the years, what you've accomplished, which is actually significant, and especially over the last 2 years, when there's a lot of nonprofits that have moved into really a place of struggling. What encouragement can you give them to see their mission succeed?
So I think that at the very heart of what you just said is to make sure that mission is understood by everyone in your organization, including your trustees, including any people that work with you on a volunteer basis. If everyone has mission at the heart of what they're doing, that is really probably one of the most helpful things. Another thing is, if you have a system that works, even if albeit it be like, a little bit, like, keep pushing the system. A lot of times fundraisers will go, let's try something, and it doesn't work. And they're like, let's try the next thing. And they throw it out, compared to like trying it, getting a little response, then testing that and keep going with it. So creating I remember when I first started working in fundraising, my boss, God bless her, her name's Yvette, I said, I was like, I still don't get why you hired me for this. Because, I had very little fundraising background. And about 6 months in, I was like, wait, so what you're saying is I'm pretty much doing the same thing over and over and over again, just in the 6-month, return. And she's like, yeah, that's pretty much what you're doing. And you find ways of making it exciting for you, but you have to find the system that works for you and then work the system. And don't be afraid if you fail sometimes. I have come up with ideas that people laugh at, but they've been great, and some of them are just fallen flat. But it hasn't stopped me from going back to the system that I do have and kind of playing within that system. So, mission and systems are one of probably the 2 most important thing in fundraising. And then just one more thing is family. That is something that I always push. Like you have to have people feel like they're a part of something, that they're bigger than themselves. And when they connect to that, you have someone that will be there for life. If they really believe in what you're doing and they feel like they're a part of it, you got them.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. As we look into 2022, what are 2 or 3 keys you can suggest to fundraise this year?
Yeah. Well, I think I kind of gave the 3. I think I just kind of gave those 3.
Yeah, family and yep.
Uh,
Absolutely.
but another thing that is really important that we found is, what is your voice, and finding your voice. And especially now, like I was saying with our challenge right now, how do we find a voice in the midst of all of the noise? And so that's something that we're experimenting with. Leading with thanks is another thing, because we have come through. People, you can't be pandemic all the time.
Right.
Even though it is pandemic all the time, you can't be emergency. So as an example, when we entered the pandemic, we themed our campaign the Preservation Fund, and the F was a forte, but it was in red. And what we did this year was we kept Preservation Fund, but we took away the immediacy of the red. Like it was simple things, making it blue instead, our TCO colors. Like, how do you express there's a need still, but not emergency all the time?
Right.
So that's really, really important, because people don't get tired of giving, but they do get tired of being asked in an emergency way all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that's
the alarmist voice gets lost.
It does. Yeah. Especially, I mean, after the first wave of it, like you're like, all right, I get that, but you can't have multiple alarm waves, right? So I think that's important. And then I'd say last, the power of a matching grant is probably one of the most breathtaking things in fundraising. People will love the idea of matching, like, oh, I'm going to get part in something. And it's something that we hear all the time if you listen to like your NPR station, and it is tiresome. I'm like, oh, it must be fall because there's the fund drive again. Like, when they're coming. But those matching grants, they make me want to give. And when we send, it can be a $5,000 or $25,000. It can be a 1-to-1, a 2-to-1. It can be for every one gift you give of $50, someone gives $100 in your name. The power of matching gifts is really a transformational thing for a campaign.
Beautiful. Well, I have one last question for you, and then we do this a little bit of a game at the end, which I surprise everybody with, where we give a shout out to a nonprofit to give them a little bit of a voice out there. But my final question for you is, if a listener wanted to get connected with Cleveland Orchestra, wanted to donate, wanted to find out more about what Cleveland Orchestra is doing in 2022, how do they do that?
The simplest thing is clevelandorchestra.com. You're going to find all the information there. You can see this beautiful website that we've developed, and kind of just poke around. Another thing you can do is you can go to adela.live, and that is where our online streaming platform is. And there's a lot of free stuff there that is not behind a paid wall that you can kind of just poke around with. We have our annual Martin Luther King concert coming up, and we're going to be broadcasting I believe the 75th anniversary. Don't quote me on that, but we're going to be broadcasting one from our past years. So that's free to the community. So those are the 2 places to go.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, before we sign off and say our goodbyes, Josh, we always end every one of these broadcasts with giving a shout out to a nonprofit that is really fighting the good fight, just to bring them kind of a high five and encourage people to go hang out. So I'm going to bring up one, and while I'm doing that, you think of one. You can even use your own theater if you'd like. But so for those that are listening, I was just connecting in with Sunrise Outreach in Yakima, Washington. They are a food pantry. They do a number of things, but they actually serve over 22% of the hungry people in central Washington. They have 5 pantries that are in this region, another one that's outside of the region, and over 4,000 meals and 4,000 boxes. And a box is about 4 to 5 meals they provide every few weeks. And they're doing an incredible job. They are huge-hearted people. We've got a lot of retirees volunteering, going there and helping with them. But I encourage you to go to sunriseoutreach.org, sunriseoutreach.org. Give them a high five, make a comment, let them know you're following. They have a great TikTok channel. Dave Hansen is the director there. He's in his 70s and he's still on TikTok, telling everybody, bragging about his volunteers and his staff. And go ahead and just give them a like and a thumbs up. And yep, Sunrise Outreach in Yakima, Washington, and give them a smile. Josh, who would you'd like to give a shout out to?
So I want to give a shout out to one of my good dancer friends. Her name's Janet, and she has a company called Pointe Ballet, and Pointe with an E, like, you know, the Pointe shoe. And it's a ballet company, but it's an all-inclusive company that I have the honor to dance with them every once in a while. So it is all professional dancers, people that have, you know, lives. They've gone to school. They are working currently as professional dancers. So they have really high quality, and they put on great productions. But then they partner with local organizations, and they have something called A Chance to Dance, and it gives people with disabilities the chance to be on the stage, whether they're in a wheelchair, whether they are cognitively, you know, they have some cognitive learning disabilities, anything like that. And to see the joy on the face of these kids when they come out and, you know, they're out there in their full costume around professional dancers and they're dancing on the stage with them, one of the most joy-bringing feelings in the world to see their smiles. Also, they do tons of stuff with education in the schools. These are just people who are passionate. And I will say that a lot of dancers, being in the dance world, there are a lot of dancers that you don't want to be friends with because they just talk about themselves, or they're all center stage, you know.
You're not saying that artists are narcissistic at all, are you?
I'm not going to answer that. But these are people that are my friends, but they have the highest level. They're going to schools. They are helping kids learn like what dance is, which I just think that it's one of the most maybe not underfunded, but like when you think of like the performing arts, like it's one of the most probably misunderstood of them all. And they're really helping to break that stigma. So North Pointe Ballet, I believe it's .org, with a E. So North Pointe, Pointe Ballet, and you can find out more information there. You can support them and go to their Facebook, say hi to them, say hi to Janet for me, because she is one of the best people that I know.
That's fantastic. Well, we'll have to go say hi to Janet. Josh, I really have enjoyed this conversation. It has been great learning about Cleveland Orchestra and what you do, and you gave us some really great ideas and thoughts. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Anytime. And whenever you're in Cleveland, look me up. I'll take you to a concert, whether it be at Severance Music Center or at Blossom Music Center. Get to hear world-class music.
I am going to have to come to Cleveland for the first time just to do that. That sounds very exciting. Well, have a great day for all of those that are listening. Go and make your world beautiful. And remember what we always say, celebrate kindness and celebrate smiles. Have a great one. This is Nonprofit Online. I'm David Higgins, and we'll see you soon.